Suicide is suicide. Tell him seeking you will find, cause I'ma lose my mind. Kick the nigga ass, then give him my shoes to shine. It's do or die. I come from where we used to prime. The booze at 9, more important than school supplies. The pools is dry. The niggas in the food is fried. The news is lies. The pigeons is too spooked to fly. The rules denied. All the toughest goons is mine. That's two just nine. They kill you and go through the time. We unify. The money revolutionized. The new design. We had to leave the flukes behind. It's super side. The numbers through the roof and sky. Don't look too surprised. Them through the lines we making. Moves and stride. Grooves and vibe. I'm too alive. These soldiers get the supervised. They put on the cute disguise. The grooms is blind. She get thick in the Uber ride. Number 2 with fries. I'm pimping. Now who am I? I'm who and why. I'm rude and kind. My cars are computerized. I'm cruising by. Smoking blunts, rude inside.
I remember me and Black Cloud went to Outkast concert, Strawberries.
Up at mama and smile with such a devilish grin. Like, where the hell have you been? She's yelling, selling's a sin. Well, so it's telling young men that selling is a sin if you don't offer new ways to win. A dolphin gon' shake his fin, regardless if he gets in or out of water. Most important thing for him is to swim and flip it then hold his nose. So why should I hold my tongue? I miss the days are old when one could hold his gal on his arm. And I set off these alarms when camera snaps, return fat, pat, 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 pat. They'll run why your privacy so essential. They won't make no laws. I'll break their law till they see out our window. I take the falls and make them all treat humankind more gentle. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What is the difference between a checking account, a demand deposit account, and a now negotiable order of withdrawal account? And a now account. Okay, negotiable order of withdrawal. A demand deposit account is just a different term for a checking account. The difference between a demand deposit account or checking account and a negotiable order of withdrawal account is the amount of notice you need to give to the bank or credit union before making a withdrawal. Most demand deposit accounts, DDAs, let you withdraw your money without advance notice. But the term also includes accounts that require 6 days or less of advance notice. Now accounts are essentially checking accounts where you earn interest on the money you have deposited. With a now account, the bank or credit union has the right to require at least 7 days written notice of a withdrawal, though this is rarely done. Not all accounts that give you checks are checking accounts. Other deposit products, such as money market accounts, may allow you to write checks, but they are not generally suited for day-to-day business, given the restrictions on their use. In addition, a lender may give you checks to access credit, such as a personal loan, home equity loan, or other lines of credit. These types of checks allow you to access your loan. And that reading was from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau at www.consumerfinance.gov. A lot of great information on that site.
Ooh. Oh, it broke. This reading gonna come from the Federal Reserve Act, Chapter 6 of the 62nd Congress, approved December 23rd, 1913, 38 Stat 251 as amended through PL uh 117 263, enacted December 23rd, 2022. Short title and definitions of the Federal Reserve Act. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the short title of this act shall be the Federal Reserve Act, codified at 12 United States Code 226. 2. Definition of bank. Definition of bank. Definition of bank. Whenever the word bank is used in this act, the word shall be held to include state bank, banking association, and trust company, except where national banks or Federal Reserve banks are specifically referred to. For purposes of this act, a state bank includes any bank which is operating under the code of law for the District of Columbia. 12 United States Code 221. Now, whenever you look at that word bank, for the purpose of this act, a state bank includes any bank which operates under the code of law for the District of Columbia, right? For the District of Columbia. Y'all caps and stuff is of the District of Columbia, United States citizen, right? So, is this saying that you're a bank? Hmm. 3. Definitions of other terms. The term national bank or national banking association used in this act shall be held to be synonymous and interchangeable. The term member bank shall be held to mean any national bank, state bank, or trust company which has become a member of one of the reserve banks created by this act. The term board shall be held to mean Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. The term district shall be held to mean Federal Reserve District. The term Reserve Bank shall be held to mean Federal Reserve Bank. The term the continental United States means the states of the United States and the District of Columbia. The states of. State of is in the District of Columbia Federal Territory. Please reference back to the Buck Act. The Buck Act gonna tell you how they turned these jurisdictions into a federal jurisdiction. And if you're using abbreviations, you are in that district. The real living man is not, like the real living spirit is not, the man is not. But the U.S. Corp, meaning you the authorized presenter. You're the agent for it, for the United States citizen. But you're not the United States citizen. You are of the people or a natural person doing business for that or individual for that corporate fiction. They made all capital letter, birth certificate, social security account, A number of sections of the Federal Reserve Act are long or contain unrelated provisions, and the provisions of each such section appear in more than one section of the United States Code. In this compilation of this act, the code cites for such sections appear at the end of each discrete provision. Matter in bold-faced brackets does not appear in the statute as enacted into law by Congress. Damn, excuse me, but it looks like I should have went on a government website and just damn. I'm gonna read it anyway. For definition relating to treasury bonds, the term bonds and notes of the United States, bonds and notes of the government of the United States, and bonds or notes of the United States used in this act be held to include certificate of indebtedness and treasury bills issued under section 3104 of Title 31 are codified here at 12 USC 221. And all obligations are to the U.S. 18.8. Bonds or notes of the United States, all its obligations and bills, if you look it up, is a bill of exchange. 1. Establishment of reserve cities and districts. Establishment of reserve cities and districts. Federal Reserve District, Section 2. As soon as practicable, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Secretary of Agriculture, and the Comptroller of Currency, acting as the Reserve Bank Organization Committee, shall designate not less than 8 or more than 12 cities to be known as Federal Reserve cities, and shall divide the continental United States, including Alaska, into districts, each district to contain only one of such Federal Reserve cities. The determination of said organization committee shall not be subject to review except by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System when organized, provided that the district shall be apportioned with due regard to the covenants and customary course of business, and shall not necessarily be coterminous with any state or states. The districts thus created may be readjusted, and the new districts may from time to time be created by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, not to exceed 12 in all. Such districts shall be known as Federal Reserve districts and may be designated by number. When the state of Alaska or Hawaii is hereafter admitted to the Union of Federal Reserve Districts, shall be readjusted by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in such as to include such state. Every national bank in any state shall, upon commencing business or within 90 days after admission into the Union of the states in which it is located, become a member bank of the Federal Reserve System by subscribing and paying for stock in the Federal Reserve Bank of its district in accordance with the provisions of this act, and shall thereupon be an insured bank under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act, and failure to do so shall subject such bank to the penalty provided by the sixth paragraph of this section, portionally incorporated in 12 USC 222 and 223. Something I want to review. The 8 or more cities, how you can tell where your Federal Reserve Bank is. On the back of your social, they'll have a letter. And on all $1 bills, you remember that little letter? You're going to trace it back to that $1 bill. And then on it is going to say Federal Reserve Bank of, and it's going to have the city. What else was in here? Consultations.
According to Collins Dictionary, definition of coachman: 1. The driver of a coach or carriage.
I say that's definitely not it. Means that a sentence will end at the same time as another. For this example, let's assume that the person is currently serving a 6-month sentence for a DUI, and 2 months before he is released, he is sentenced to serve 3 months for probation violation. The sentence to run concomitant with his DUI sentence. So it's like concurrent, but concomitant. So I'm going to read section 2 over. As soon as practicable, the state of the currency and state of agriculture, the Secretary of Treasury and the Secretary of Agriculture and the Comptroller of Currency, acting as the Reserve Bank Organization Committee, shall designate not less than 8 or more than 12 cities to be known as Federal Reserve cities, and shall divide the continental United States, excluding Alaska, into districts, each district to contain only one of such Federal Reserve cities. The determination of said organization committee shall not be subject to review except by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, meaning us, when organized, provided that the districts shall be apportioned with due regard to the convenience and customary course of business, and shall not necessarily be conterminous with any state or states. The district thus created may be readjusted, and new districts may be from time to time be created by the Board of Governors. So the district thus created may be readjusted, and new districts may be from time to time be created by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. So we can make new districts Maybe if we come out of that, new systems. Not to exceed 12 in all. Well, that killed that. We got 12 already. Such districts shall be known as Federal Reserve districts and may be designated by number. When the state of Alaska or Hawaii is hereafter admitted to the Union of Federal Reserve Districts shall not readjust by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in such manner as to include such state. And remember, we are a state in fact. Every national bank in any state shall, upon commencing business or within 90 days after admission, every national bank in any state shall, upon commencing business or within 90 days after admission onto the union of the state in which it is located, become a member bank of the Federal Reserve System by subscribing and paying for stock in a Federal Reserve Bank of its district in accordance with the provisions of this act, and shall thereupon be an insured bank under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act, and failure to do so shall subject such bank to the penalty provided by the 6th paragraph of this section. Partially incorporated in 12 USC 223. And failure to do so shall subject such bank to the penalty provided by the 6th paragraph of this section. Huh? 2. Power of organization committee. Said organization committee shall be authorized to employ counsel and expert aid to take testimony, to send for persons and papers, to administer oaths, and to make such investigation as may be deemed necessary, and to make such investigation as may be deemed necessary by the said committee to determine the reserve districts, and in designating the cities within such districts where such Federal Reserve banks shall be severally located. The said committee shall supervise the organization in each of the cities designated of the Federal Reserve Bank, which shall include in its title the name of the city in which it is situated. The Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago, omitted from United States Code except that part of last sentence, is incorporated in 12 USC 2225. 3. Subscription to stock by national banks under regulations to be prescribed by the organization committee. Every national bank association in the United States is hereby required, and every eligible bank in the United States and every trust company within the District of Columbia is hereby authorized to signify in writing within 60 days after the passage of this act its acceptance of the terms and provisions hereof, when the organization committee shall have designated the city into which Federal Reserve banks are to be organized and fixed the geographical limits of the Federal Reserve districts. Every national banking association within that district shall be required within 30 days after notice from the organization committee to subscribe to the capital stock of such Federal Reserve Bank in a sum equal to 6% of the paid up capital stock and surplus of organization committee or of the board of governors of the district reserve system, 1/6 within 3 months and 1/6 within 6 months hereinafter, and the remainder of the subscription or any part thereof shall be subject to call when deemed necessary by the board of governors of the Federal Reserve System, said payments to be in gold or gold certificate, partially incorporated in 12 U.S.C. 282. For liability of shareholders of reserve banks. The shareholders of every Federal Reserve Bank shall be held individually responsible equally and ratably, and not one of another. For all contracts, debts, and engagements of such bank to the extent of the amount of their subscriptions to such stock at the par value thereof, in addition to the amount subscribed, whether such subscription have been paid up in whole or in part, under the provisions of this act. 12 U.S.C. 502. Failure of national bank to accept terms of act. Any national bank failing to signify its acceptance of the terms of this act within a 60-day aforesaid shall cease to act as a reserve agent upon 30 days notice to be given within the discretion of the said organization committee or of the board of governors of the Federal Reserve System, omitted from the U.S. Code. So that ain't in there. 6. Penalty for violation of act by national banks. Should any national bank association in the United States now organized fail within 1 year after the passage of this act to become a member bank, or fail to comply with any of the provisions of this act applicable thereto, all of the rights, privileges, and franchises of such association granted to it under the National Bank Act or under the provisions of this act shall be thereby forfeited. Any non-compliance with or violation of this act shall, however, be determined and adjudged by any court of the United States of competent jurisdiction in a suit brought for that purpose in the district or territory in which such bank is located, under direction of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System, by the comptroller of the currency in his own name, before the association shall be declared dissolved. In cases of such non-compliance or violation other than the failure to become a member bank under the provisions of this act, every director who participated in or assented to the same shall be held liable in his personal or individual capacity for all damages which said bank, its shareholders, or any other person shall have sustained a consequence of such violation. 12 USC 501A. We're going to come back. We're going to get to 7.